as you've learned to set your goals and develop a game plan and use the tools of reflection and discipline in putting your life together, as you're building your ambition to reach your destination, surely somewhere in your list you wrote down wealth. I'm sure you didn't write down that you wanted to earn enough to just get by. No, you probably wrote down that you wanted to have a certain amount of money. To some it may be to earn $50,000 a year. To others it may be to earn $500,000 a year. Or $1 million. It doesn't matter. You probably wrote down what you believe that you're capable of earning if you really exercised your potential. What you want to earn the next year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, in your lifetime. And that figure probably would be viewed by the majority as being rich, getting the most from your ambition, being rewarded by your ambition. Now, I'm not talking about the incredible feelings of accomplishment. I'm talking about the tangible rewards of ambition. How wealthy should you be in knowledge and in spirit? As wealthy as you possibly can be. How rich should you be? In dollars and investments. As rich as you possibly can be. Now, I'm not talking greedy. I'm talking reward for success at the service of others, not at the expense of others. Is it okay to strive for success? Is it okay to strive to become rich and wealthy? Many people struggle with the concept of being rich. Rich people lack morals. Rich people are cutthroat. Rich people don't care. No, that's not true. Now, some rich people lack morals, are cutthroat, and don't care. But a lot of poor people have those same traits. So corruption is not inherent with being rich or wealthy. Corruption is inherent with gaining at the expense of others. Corruption is evil. But wealth is not evil. Wealth says discover your own talents and use them and take care of them, so your own talents and skills and gifts can take care of you. I firmly believe, the more that I ponder this topic of wealth, I firmly believe that it's our natural destiny to grow, to succeed, to prosper, and to find happiness. So here's what I've learned to do to temper the words rich and wealthy. I call it becoming financially independent. That's a little easier than rich or wealthy. Because some people have this idea that to be wealthy or rich, you've got to misuse people, you've got to tell lies, you've got to throw away values. If being rich bothers you, don't pursue riches. Some people even tell me that the Bible says it's hard for a rich man to reach heaven. I say, well, that language suits me. It didn't say it was impossible. It just said it was hard. I don't mind a little hard stuff. I'm also reminded that the Bible says the meek shall inherit the earth. But where does it say that in order to be meek, you have to be poor? No, the Bible doesn't say you have to be poor. That's just an interpretation. A poor rationalization that lazy people use. People who need to justify their lack of progress. People who will give up in the midst of any adversity. People who don't even try. For everyone that's born in America or comes to America, here's part of your heritage. The opportunity to become financially independent. In a nation that's full of hope and promise, it's our heritage and our right and within our reach to realize all the best that exists, including personal wealth. A man I know has an MBA from Harvard and an engineering degree from MIT. Smart guy. Semi-retired now and doing what he likes best, teaching. He teaches college courses in economics and business planning. But when he teaches economics, he also teaches personal economics. This is what he starts his classes with. Decide how you want to live now versus how long you want to work. Decide how you want to live now versus how long you want to work. This means if you want to spend everything you make now, you'll have to work longer and harder. If you spend everything you make now, you'll have no choice but to work longer and harder. But if you start investing in your financial future now, you'll have the choice between retiring early or traveling more or continuing your career or starting a new career later in life. Once again, it all comes down to choices. Think tomorrow today and live better tomorrow. Here's the next thing to think of when you're planning your economic future. Be careful with your credit cards. Selling money is big business. You probably get invitations in the mail to sign up for a new credit card a couple of times a month. Having some credit cards is important, especially if you travel. It's safer than cash. It's easier to track than cash. But be careful. I know that's hard. When you buy something with a little piece of plastic, you don't feel the effect until you get the bill. So make sure that whatever you buy, you're still happy with your purchase after you get the bill. And be careful with credit. It's the easiest way to get into debt. Go into debt strategically, not habitually. If your business is high risk, if you're an entrepreneur whose career requires a great deal of risk and a great deal of strategic debt, keep the debt in your business and out of your personal life. I know this one's hard too, because for most entrepreneurs looking for capital, the lender requires you guarantee the debt personally. So plan your debt just as you plan your fortune. Here's another point to remember in becoming financially independent. It's hard to get rich fast. It's easy to get rich slowly. 70, 10, 10, and 10, or whatever percentages you're working with. It doesn't happen overnight. With conservative investments, it takes a while. It takes discipline to keep adding value to your future. A little every month, a little every month, a little every month. It takes time to build your fortune, your financial independence. There's a saying about investing: time, not timing. The saying says time, it takes time. Now, if playing the stock market is what you do, then you know that timing is a whole other ball game. But for the average person, it's time. A study was done a while back that analyzed stock market investments. The study took two scenarios into consideration. The first one took place over 40 years. In the first scenario, stocks were bought at the very worst possible time and sold at the very worst possible time. Bought high and sold low. And after 40 years, the average return was around 10%. Scenario 1 dealt with time. Now in the second scenario, stocks were analyzed over a 10-year period. The second scenario dealt with timing. Stocks were purchased at the best possible time and sold at the best possible time. After 10 years, the average return was around 10%. Be patient in building your financial independence. It will come small steps at a time, little advantages after little advantages. It's hard to be patient, but it's just like building your ambition and achieving your goals. It happens one step at a time. And what if patience has nothing to do with building financial independence? What about those trust fund babies that are handed their financial independence on a silver platter, never having to work a day in their lives? First car is a Porsche. First house is a mansion. First job is at daddy's company. What about those people born rich? Some guy says, "It isn't fair that I'm working like crazy all day, all week, all month, all my life. It just isn't fair. I'll never have that kind of money." Well, some things aren't fair. Inheriting money. But what does that have to do with you, really? If your goal is to have greater financial independence than some of those you know, then you'd better start working harder and smarter on your goals, your own vision, and stop pondering what's fair and what isn't. Start examining what's keeping you back instead of what's keeping them ahead. Start looking at what you're doing. Start looking at you instead of it. There are plenty of stories and examples and experiences of people who began their careers destitute and had enough resolve to do it until they had more than they ever dreamed of. Study the experiences of others who built their way to the top instead of those who were born there. And what if you decided you had to be rich? What if you really followed the power of your ambition and your life started turning around? Well, aside from getting on the right track, increasing your earning potential, decreasing the percent you spend, increasing the percent you save, invest, give away, aside from all the benefits of achieving, there will also come some disappointments. Disappointments in the circle of friends you started with. One of the disappointments that come from achieving all you can be is in the people who choose to remain right where they are. They will chastise you for your accomplishments. They will abandon you for trying to become better. They will remain behind and say, "Boy, he's forgotten us now that he lives so well." And they'll probably say more than that. They'll probably gather in their little group and say all sorts of things to justify their own mediocrity. But remember, those who choose to stay behind have chosen their own path, an average path, a path of mediocrity. And those who have climbed above the crowd almost always wish they could return to their earlier friends, to embrace them in friendship and love, and try to help them get out of their ruts, to share ideas of hope and inspiration. But it rarely happens. Jealousy builds a big wall, one that is almost impossible to break down. So as you change, your life will change, your friends will change, your circle of influence will change. And that's part of achievement and ambition and success, an ever-changing process required to become the person worthy of reaching your goals. There are many reasons why people don't build their ambition, strive to become better, be the best they can. Many reasons, but it only takes one. We talked about many fears in an earlier session and how to work to overcome them. But here's one we didn't talk about: risk. Different professions call for different levels of risk. There's an old saying, no risk, no reward. Maybe that's the case in life, I don't know. It's a personal decision, one you have to make, regarding how much risk you're comfortable in taking with your life and your future and your money. It's a personal decision. What I do know is that there are different types of ambition, different types, and each has its own reward. The ambitions of a salesperson are different than the ambitions of a manager. The ambitions of a manager or an executive are different than the ambitions of an entrepreneur. The ambitions of an entrepreneur are different than the ambitions of an artist or a scientist or a teacher. With different levels of ambition come different levels of risk and different levels of reward. Salespeople are probably more able to handle risk than managers and professionals. And the higher the risk, the higher the earning potential. Entrepreneurs are probably even more risk-oriented. They have to be. An entrepreneur's ambition must overpower the risk of losing it all in an attempt to gain their dream. Your level of ambition may or may not be equated with your ability to take on risk. Most people can't deal with so much failure to reach success. There are only a few people, even among the most ambitious, that have the tenacity, intestinal fortitude, tolerance level to follow a risky ambition. Whatever the level of ambition, whatever the level of risk, there must always be the discipline to overcome the failures and see the end result. To keep trying until. Jonas Salk kept working through his failures until he developed the polio vaccine. Whatever your level of ambition, keep doing it until you get there. The riskier the ambition, the greater need for stability in your personal life. If you've got everything on the line in your business, you'll want to make sure everything is in line at home. John D. Rockefeller was very frugal in his personal habits, but he was willing to take risks, big risks, with investments in debt, risks that made his colleagues shudder. So as you're developing your own plan for financial independence, as you're working toward the ideal of living off of 70% of what you make, remember the first step is to define a plan. It may not be ideal, but you're taking the first steps. And when you follow your plan, the money you put away today will help you build your financial independence tomorrow. And with financial independence, the result of your ambition, the reward of your ambition, with financial independence comes freedom like you've never known before. Freedom and option.